We do, thank you. So you can't see a paper copy of the agenda. We're going to show it up here next. Basically it was going to start with city staff reports. We've moved announcements up. If anybody from the commission or anybody in the community has any announcements they'd like to share, we've got a block of time to do that. Then we'll have 3 brief presentations, and then we go on to the reports of our committee, starting with zoning down to recreation and parks. We have an unfinished business section. We're going to talk about the city of Columbus capital budget requests that we've been collecting, and we're supposed to vote and put together a prioritized list of what we believe are the top 3 capital budget requests. We're going to talk about that. And then there's no new business on the agenda tonight. So that'll take us to the point that we would adjourn the meeting. So do you have any questions about the agenda? Any additions, deletions? Okay, hearing none. We're next on to the approval of the minutes for our full commission meeting that was held last month. Our secretary provided those within days of the last meeting. So thank you very much, Joe Harduro. Any additions, deletions, corrections?
I did not receive any.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes that Secretary Harduro presented from our last meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great, thank you. Minutes approved. So we are going to move on to our City of Columbus staff reports. Typically, first on the agenda is Sergeant Brophy. He was not able to come tonight, but he did want us to welcome Lieutenant Joe Kermode tonight. So would you be willing to speak up and stand up and come up to the podium and introduce yourself? Yeah.
I brought a microphone, so I'll just project. My name is Joe Kermode. I'm a lieutenant at the Columbus Division of Police. Just got promoted just over a month ago, been out on the west side and just under that time. 8 years on with Columbus Police, almost all of that down on the south side. Got family down there, love the community down there. I'm excited to come out here. I have no plans on going anywhere anytime soon. I'm the lieutenant over the second shift officers, which is pretty much every officer and supervisor you'll see on the street between 2 p.m. and midnight. So if you see them out there, they're one of my officers. Stop and say hello to them. I'll stay till after the meeting. If you guys have any questions, concerns, compliments, criticisms, I'd love to hear it. I'm trying to make my rounds to all the community block watch meetings, commission meetings, everything like that. And I'm still learning how to say no on things. I'll say yes if you guys ask me to do something or look into something. I'm the coordinator for the Short North Crime Interdiction Program. And I also am the point of contact for the Division of Police for the Franklin County Blueprint for Safety. We're revitalizing how we look at domestic violence calls for service. So happy to be here. And if you guys have anything or need anything from me, let me know.
Great, thank you. Thank you for being here tonight.
Of course.
Back and forth. I think on the agenda next it was Avery. No, Zach Gwynn, our zone attorney, is here tonight. So Zach, come on up. Do you have any updates or any report for the city?
I actually don't have anything this
Okay.
month. So unless there are any questions, I'll just yield my time.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you know if there's any update to like the liquor permit, GIS mapping that we were talking about like a year or 2 ago?
I do not know. I think that would be city question, not on city attorney's office at this point, but I can check with Sarah Pomeroy. Text you an answer before you know that.
Zach, since you're already standing up there, and since there are people that aren't new, maybe to the meeting tonight or online, what is your role? Could you just take a minute and explain that and why we invite you to come to this meeting every month?
Yeah, so I am Senior Assistant City Attorney Zach Gwynn for Columbus City Attorney Zach Klein's office. So the city is broken up into different police zones, and our team is called the Zone Initiative. So I'm assigned to what is Zone 3, which is the west side, but there actually has been a change in some of the precincts and zones. So now I have everything west of Glenwood Avenue, east of Glenwood, and Franklinton is actually part of the downtown.
Zone 5.
Zone 5. So I have everything west of Glenwood, all the way up towards the parts of Hilliard that are within Columbus city limits. And so we handle public nuisance litigation, and those are all cases filed in the environmental court. So properties that have nuisance drug activity, felony offenses of violence, but also your run-of-the-mill code violations for everything from vacant abandoned properties to abandoned autos, things like that, and then zoning enforcement for commercial properties. And so about 40% of cases filed by the Department of Development Code Enforcement come on the west side of the city. So we are particularly busy. But then our job is also very much to be kind of community attorneys. So I try to be at area commissions. I have 7 different area commissions, but Hilltop is obviously my favorite. I'm on the Franklinton Area Commission as well, but so we come out here and we try to listen to residents and figure out what are the problems going on, and whether it's a problem landlord or somebody like that. We just try to be here to listen to folks and figure out a way to solve problems in the community.
I do have a really good question. So last year or 2 years ago, we were having pretty consistent conversations about some possible litigation against the Dollar Generals and Family Dollars. They seem to have kind of stalled out, or they got bumped up, or stopped talking about it. But
So it's actually on, so that was actually filed. So all the Family Dollars, not Dollar General, Family Dollar, we filed cases against. I think every single Family Dollar in Franklin County that is within city limits. And they are under an agreed order now regarding maintenance. I know the West Broad Family Dollar is a very visible and frequently messy one, but is that?
so what is that? I guess what is that?
So required, I think it's weekly maintenance and weekly cleanup on all the properties. So basically, if they violate that, we can reopen the case, bring them back in on contempt filing. But all those cases are under order. All those properties are under order right now. Which bus street?
Like Broad and Wayne.
That's
Would that explain,
There's also one down further.
would that explain why this one's not been open for 3 months?
That I think is a different situation. The closure of that one had nothing to do with our case. At least we didn't ask them to close it as part of the case. We will be having our second son here in about 2 weeks. So if anybody emails me with any concerns, there might be a bit of a delay, but I will be sure to get back to you in time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. Zach, that was a great summary of who you are, what you do, and why you come to these meetings. I really appreciate that. If you Google his name that was just up on the screen, you'll find his email pretty easily, I think. So you're welcome. If people want to contact you, they can do it via email or give you a call.
Yep.
Perfect, thanks.
Turn it off.
Next up is Avery Townsend. She just emailed me. Unfortunately, she's not going to be able to join, so bear with me. She's got some bullet points here. I'd like to give some updates if that's okay. So Avery is our liaison with City Council. And she said, my updates for the commission are as follows. A few weeks ago, City Council announced their 2023 housing initiatives, a planned legislative package that will be rolled out throughout the next 9 to 16 months. It consists of 12 pieces of legislation that supplement the city's housing strategy and divided into 3 primary buckets: investment, preservation, and inclusion. Our goal is threefold. We want to reinvest in our city through the sustainable development of new affordable housing units, preserve our current housing stocks, and ensure the housing market is inclusive of all peoples regardless of socioeconomic status. For more information, please read the press release I sent earlier or watch the press conference on Facebook or YouTube. If anyone has any specific questions, they can reach out to Avery directly. I'll provide her email. The next bullet point, the public capital budget form is live. Please share as you see fit. I have sent the link in my updates, but there's also a shareable post on our Facebook page. Later on during old business, I'll share that link so that everybody can see that there's an opportunity. If you would like to fill out a form about any public capital budget request that you believe is needed in any part of Columbus, capital meaning more like a tangible item, like a building, a repair, infrastructure, sidewalks, lights, improvements to streets, things that are gonna last, things that, it's not a program or a service, but something that can be built or repaired, or if anybody has anything to add to my explanation, but that's what there's a form that anybody can fill out, and that link is now live. And then her final bullet point is the city council summer 2023 internship is open. It closes April 7th, so 3 more days. I guess there's an opportunity to apply for a paid opportunity to be an intern with city council. She sees that she sees that we have our capital budget recommendations and unfinished business. Let me know if there's any questions about the form, and then submit your recommendations as soon as possible through the forms. Thank you, and I hope you have a great meeting. Avery Townsend, again, is her name, and she said people can call or email if you have any questions. Her email is aj.townsend@wellness.gov. Try to go back to the agenda here. Yeah, so from the Department of Neighborhoods, we have Olabisi. Welcome.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I have a few updates today. First, the state of the city West Side conversation. I'm sure each of you received several emails about that, but that has been rescheduled to Wednesday, April 26th at 6 p.m. The deadline to RSVP, if you would like to attend, is April 21st. They would like an accurate head count because there will be a booth. So just for catering purposes, please RSVP as soon as you can. For those that attended last week's city attorney's training, thank you. I felt like it was a very lively conversation. I know I learned a lot. For those who were unable to attend, the slides from that training will be available by the end of this week. And I'm hoping to send that to you as soon as possible. Speaking of trainings, due to the scheduling conflict with the state of the cities, rescheduling their conversation, the area commission spring networking session has been rescheduled to May 31st at 6 p.m. It will still be at the East Market. And just heads up, because there have been a number of events that have been moved around, there may be additional changes to the area commission training schedule. I will send those updates out as I receive them, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up, especially into the early part of the summer, there may be additional changes made. I know that the Hilltop is not participating in citywide elections. However, I still wanted to let you guys know that I knew I could sound louder. There we go. I just wanted to let you guys know that we are currently drafting the marketing materials to be shared via the social network platforms and the website. They will be editable for you, so you can still use those, even though your elections will be on a different date. And actually, I'm unsure. I'm thinking, Leah, I should speak to you about what the date for the Hilltop elections are. Am I right?
Yes, I don't have an answer for you. We'll decide that later on.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. So, yes. So once that date has been decided, please let me know, and happy to support in any way that I can. Same goes for the campaign packet templates. Those will also be available on the week of April 17th. For Wedgwood, they are hosting an Easter Palooza this Saturday from 1 to 6 p.m. This is put on by the Wedgwood Resident Task Force. And they are currently looking for contributions for prizes and party favors. I will share the link for that in the Westside Bulletin that will be sent out tomorrow. The Wedgwood Resident Task Force is also hosting a spring block party that will be on the 22nd of April from 1 to 6 p.m. And they are currently looking for community partners to table at that event. It's planning on making it a pretty big thing. So please reach out to me if you're interested in having a table for that event. And more information will be shared via the Westside Bulletin within either this week or next week. For the Area Commission website, We've been working with the Neighborhood Design Center to switch to a new platform. I know right now we currently use WordPress. We're trying to switch to Wix. It'll be a lot more user-friendly. There were some security concerns. Those will be addressed in the switch. So once that has taken place, the the Neighborhood Design Center, there we go, will be hosting a training for any and all to attend. I know Josh, I know you are the current guru. If you could do that survey that I said. You did? Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah. The City of Columbus just released a funding opportunity. Summer youth program funding will be available for 501c3s to establish and grow programs for youth focused on education, arts, workforce development, financial literacy, and more. The deadline for that is April 18th at 12 p.m. If you haven't already received the link for it, I will send that out tomorrow as part of the bulletin. I know several people have approached to ask about the conversion schedule for the remaining 300 gallon trash containers. I know the Department of Refuse is currently working on that. We have been in communication about that. And once that is finalized, I will share that with the commission and anyone that asks for it. And then finally, the deadline to spend out the funding for 2022-2023 for the area commissions is April 30th. So it is a personal goal of mine. I would love for all of you to spend your money so that way we can get more money. You know, I know 2,500 is not a lot, but there's so much more that can be done. So please spend your money. And that's all I got for you this evening.
Thank you.
May I just quickly ask for you to repeat the grant item for our minutes? What I think just 2 or 3 points ago, what was that?
Oh, yes, it's the summer youth program funding opportunity. And that is available for 501c3 organizations. The deadline for that is April 18th at 12 p.m.
Well, Lisa, you do such a nice job with the West Side Bulletin in your emails. I mean, they're really jam-packed with information. And I've never asked this question. Is there a mailing list that somebody can sign up to get on those, or do those only go to, how does that work?
Yeah, so it's very informal. If you just send me an email, I just add you to my Outlook list.
Yeah, amazing. If there's anybody watching that, you know, would like to just hear updates from the Department of Neighborhoods about what's going on. I mean, you put a lot of work into those, and there's just a lot of good information. So I was dying to ask that question.
I appreciate you. And if anyone has an update, I don't discriminate. Please just let me know and I'll add it to the next.
So it's a two-way thing. You can put information in there that might be able to be
Yeah.
pushed out. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I rely
Okay.
on you guys to make me look good.
Nice, nice. You know, awesome.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Normally we would be hearing from Nick Clout from Envision Hilltop, but I've asked him to do a longer presentation, so we're going to move him to the slot for presentation. So thank you for that, Nick. See you in a minute. So on to announcements. Any announcements from commissioners? Anything you'd like to share?
Oh, yes, I know,
Do you need a microphone?
I would love one, but it's not necessary. I mean, I can project, but you know. So, it just dawned on me that on Wednesday, the 26th, I also had a presentation / training scheduled here for commissioners and for Hilltop community leaders and anybody really who wanted to attend. But I think I might look to reschedule that for, now that the State of the City West Side Edition has been scheduled for that date. But I still have one scheduled on Saturday, April 29th, here at the library at 12:30. It's essentially, I'm calling it context training because I don't know how else to put it, but it's a history of the Hilltop, kind of how we arrived at the present. And also a history of the commission, different things we've gone over the years. the purpose of the commission, why we were established to begin with. And I think this would be a good opportunity, not only for current commissioners, but for anybody interested in running for the commission. To come and get to know what we do and why yours truly is sometimes opposing things that seem like they should be just fine. But please come out. I put a lot of work into it. Saturday, April 29th at 12:30 here at the library, and I will announce, I will change the invite for the previous date, which I had scheduled, that would conflict with the State of the City West Side Edition thing. Also, Saturday is breakfast at the Westgate Lodge, and through a program with the Columbus Historical Society, past master Robert Parsons and I are doing a tour of Westgate Lodge. Plus, I'll be doing a little presentation about the history of the hilltop while we're there. So that's it. And that is, I think that's 12:30 on Saturday. It's after the breakfast on Saturday. So come on out.
Thank you for those announcements. It'll be-
Would you mind, let's try that again. Sure. Would you mind repeating the date and time for the tour?
Sure. Oh, for the tour, that is this Saturday. So that's the 8th, right? Numbers not my brain. I don't know if we've had this discussion before. It's on Saturday and it starts at, let me double check because I get this stuff wrong too. It's after the breakfast. The breakfast goes until noon. And so it should, I think it starts at 12:30, but let me double check. The Historical Society.
Okay, while you're looking, are there any other announcements from any other commissioners?
I have a question for OPC. Quick question, if we've RSVP'd for, the State of the City West already, do we need to RSVP? Okay, for the new date. Okay.
Any other announcements from commissioners? Does anybody that's attending the meeting tonight have an announcement they'd like to share? So there's a microphone over on the table if you want to pick it up. If not, just
Yeah,
stand up and holler. Yeah.
I'm Brianna Young. I'm the West Side Neighborhood Integration Manager for Celebrate One. We have a community baby shower coming up on April 29th. Sorry, there's another event that day. From 1 to 3. All families are welcome. If you're expecting or have a baby under 1, we give out tons of things. We would like you to register on Eventbrite, but even if you don't register, we'll still get you in.
Awesome. Thank you.
Where is that? Westgate, I'm sorry, I should have said, Recreation Center.
Yeah. Hi.
I'm Rebecca Hunley from Franklinton, just a little
Firehouse lady.
Yeah, it worked. I'll talk to you later. So, Engine House 10 is not going to be raised and it's not going to be pulled down.
Yeah, good.
So thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Mr. Fagan, for your support in that. And yay. So I'll be following up with Ann Kelly on a regular basis to kind of see what's happening next. I know the firefighters next door are like,
Yeah.
yes, now we just get them to change your license plate from the bottoms. So meantime, back at the ranch, I am the chair of the Franklinton Area Neighbors Civic Association. We meet in the odd months appropriately. And we will be meeting May the 3rd. We will be having the Community Crime Patrol, also Michael Wilkos from United Way, talking about housing density, what's next, and with a focus on basically the west side. It's the same story, just a different zip code. So that will be interesting, and I'm sure a fight at some point, but come on down. Bring your own armor. We will be at the library 6 p.m. May the 3rd. And then on a lighter note, May 4th, we will be doing the chocolate block. So what that means is that I ask for community donations for chalk, and the kids have chalk for themselves. We like to be able to hire artists. It seems counterintuitive, but the artists we're hiring are from Franklinton area. Last year we had 6 artists, and we had probably 24 kids and 1 adult, and I'm sorry. Several adults, and then we had one senior who was also an artist, but she was our hot stopper, so. At any rate, it's a fun time, it's, you know, just something to do, a fun thing to do. If you're interested in contributing, then you can just contact me at FAN Civic Association @gmail.com. And you're welcome to come to our meetings at any time. We talk about Franklinton. We usually wind up talking about the hilltop because we keep swapping about 30% of our folks every 16 days or whenever the lease is up. So if you have questions, they'll be right here. Thanks.
Thank you, Rebecca. Any other announcements?
Just to follow old DC, so the time is actually 12:15 on Saturday for the tour at Westgate Lodge. And also they have an Eventbrite link on the invite. And I can share that to the Facebook page, or I'll send it to you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to presentations. So is Derek Hessler? Yeah, how are you, sir? He's like, Heesler. Sorry for that. Well, he's coming up. He's a community relations coordinator with the city of Columbus, and he does a short presentation for us tonight about an event coming up.
A very brief presentation.
All right, we'll take it.
Would you mind taking one of that, please? So for the commission, you are getting a tiny packet of information about what we do at the departments, which we're kind of taking in the meeting. I apologize. My colleague Nick is going to be way more entertaining than what I am, so get ready for that. There is a schedule of our 12 Rise Up C-Bus events, which is why I'm here tonight, just to remind you or tell you about it if you don't know about it.
Hey, Derek, would you pick up mic? Would you pick up the mics up here?
Sorry.
No, no worries.
So we did 9 last year. It was our pilot program for our community event series. We're doing 12 this year. It was a big success and we're kind of expanding. We're trying to get into every neighborhood that we weren't in last year. We were in the Hilltop once last year at Hunt's. It went great. We had a little rainstorm, but a double rainbow, which was super cool.
Rain.
But yeah, we were doing 4 this year on the, well, basically the west side, but Columbus West. Our first one is at Dodge on the 27th. So it's what, 23 days. I want to encourage everybody to come out, obviously. If you all know, if you know of anyone who would like to entertain, like singers, dancers, groups, things like that, who might want a part of the stage for 5, 10, 15 minutes, by all means, let me know. If you know community organizations, businesses, anybody local on the west side, do you think would fit into our, I guess, our criteria, which you guys have, see on the back page of that first page, there are 21 agenda items. There are 21 aspirations of the mayor's equity agenda. We're basically inviting really anybody, nonprofit, community organizations that fit under these 21 aspirations. They all do great work. They all want a say and to let people know about the good work they do. That's kind of the point of having these community events, to let people know what's out there for them. We're having entertainment, bands, DJs. The Columbus Symphony is coming out to some of our events. Free food, always, every day. So that's always great. But every event, other than one in August, is on Thursdays. They're Thursdays from 4:30 to 7:30. For any of you that want a copy of what they have, they're on the table over there when we leave. Yeah, I think that's it. But we want to see everybody there. I want to hear from you. For anybody that doesn't have my card, you guys have my card. There is a link to the 2 pages. You can contact me through that. I think that's it. Does anybody here have any questions? I gave you a lot of stuff. Anybody out here have any questions? If you do, and you pick one of those up, just give me a ring. Good deal?
Derek,
Yes.
last question. Thank you. You mentioned if there's entertainers that want to be involved.
Sure.
Is there an advanced deadline that someone would need to apply for that?
The sooner the better.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
no deadline.
you know, like a September, anytime during the summer, but for the 27th, you would need to know pretty soon. I would
I mean, within the next probably month and a half,
Okay.
but yeah, no big deal.
Thank you.
We can accommodate.
Okay.
Great.
So just thank you for being here. I was able to go to the Hans Park last year. It was so fun. And the band and the music was great. If you get a chance to go, it was really a blast.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
hopefully a better turnout. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
That's why we're doing this.
Perfect. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, so up next is, we've got Adam Rowan, Chief Operating Officer for Maryhaven. Reached out and asked if we'd be willing to kind of hear some updates about Maryhaven program services that you're offering. And I said, considering some of the issues that, struggle with around addiction, behavioral health issues, even some information about gambling kind of services that, give you an opportunity to kind of give us some updates about what Maryhaven's doing. Take it away.
Yes, thank you guys for having me tonight. I greatly appreciate it. I'm just gonna talk about who we are, what we do, what we're seeing in the community. This is wide open. I'll talk, but if you have questions, please throw up a hand. Glad to answer any questions I can about our services or what we're seeing in the community. I did bring a slide deck, but I'm only gonna loosely use it. So if you want to just scroll as I'm moving through, that's fine with me. So brief history of who we are and what we do. Maryhaven started 1953 as Mary's Haven, which was actually a place for women to seek treatment for alcohol addiction because there weren't places that offered that service during that period of time. So we have grown through then to be a team of around 400 individuals who provide services in Franklin, Union, Delaware, and Marion County. We have several offices in Franklin County. Both of our larger campuses are on the south side, one in Marion Village on South High Street, where we do 24/7 walk-in availability to treatment, and then another on the east side on High Street. So if you could slide, please. That's just a picture of the very first building that was Mary's Haven. This is a little fun fact of the history. All right, so access and judgment-free care. So what's important in our business is that we meet clients where they are, so that when people come to us, we have the level of care that they need, and that when they access us, we're in a position to help them. So what that means, I think it's important to note that there's a lot of discussion about overdose deaths right now, specifically increase in rates among African Americans. So the reason that we're seeing overdoses in the community is because of fentanyl. And everybody has heard that word a lot, fentanyl, fentanyl, fentanyl. And that is what we see. So we used to see a lot of folks coming into our treatment who were using heroin or who were using prescription opiates. And that has almost nearly 100% transitioned to fentanyl.
No.
And so the overdoses are related to the fact that people using opiates realize that there's a danger to overdose. So they keep often overdose Narcan and other things like that. They can help reverse an overdose. But now general other drugs are being cut with fentanyl, and they're going into drugs that people don't realize that they're using fentanyl. So someone who's a recreational user who says, oh, I'm partying on a Saturday night, I'm not using any hard, dangerous drugs, I'm okay. Use fentanyl unknowingly and don't have anything in their proximity to deal with it and overdose and die. It's a very serious problem. There's a lot of prevention activity. We've done a lot of work with Franklin County to put information out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok to just let people know like this is happening. This is in products that are everywhere and you need to know it. That's why Narcan distribution, fentanyl test strips, all those things are really critical to keep people alive. The pandemic was tough for us. We have at any given day about 150 to 180 people living with us in treatment. And as you can imagine, in a congregate care setting when COVID hit, that really tightened up the slack in the system. So availability to treatment was harder, not to mention just keeping people safe. And we're a team of counselors and social workers who had to become, well-versed in wearing shields and gloves and capes and things like that really quickly. So tough time, but access was open throughout. All right, so Maryhaven impact. I think we just talked about the most important thing about our system of care is that we have everything from the most acute, which is substance use detoxification, so people at the very beginning of their recovery journey, all the way to prevention services and everything in between. So what that allows us to do is say that if somebody comes in and they want treatment, but they don't have a place to live, we can offer a residential placement, so you can be in treatment with a safe place to live while we rebuild. But if you do, great, then we can support you through an outpatient program that allows you to stay where you have support in a home environment and get treatment too. Slide, please. Actually, on that last slide, you don't have to go back, but I think it's important to highlight that it says that we do addiction treatment and mental health. Those two things cannot be pulled apart. Okay, so we do a lot of treatment for folks who have co-occurring disorders or have past trauma. And trauma, mental health, addiction often live in the same triangle. It's best to think about substance use treatment as a waterfall. Most people enter it on top at detox, and then they go to a residential treatment, and then they go to an outpatient level of care, and those get less and less severe as you go down that waterfall. Okay. Slide, please. All right, immediacy counts. Like I said, our facility on Marion or in Marion Village on South High Street, anybody can walk in there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. The reason that is because when somebody calls and says, I have a moment of clarity and I want treatment, it was not working for us to say, how about next Tuesday at 3? Can you make that? And so what we found through our process was that we were setting appointments weeks in advance, of which half the people didn't come. And so there were people who wanted treatment who were waiting to get it, and there were people who had it who were not coming. And so the walk-in system was developed at Mary Haven 2 years ago, so that when you need treatment, you walk in. And that allows for resources to be allocated to the people who are there that day and need it. And it has drastically improved access to care for the community. Yeah,
Shall we wait till the end or now?
no, please.
What about transportation? I work at the library on the east side of town, and we'll have people come in and they want to get a ride to, dry out. And we've had challenges finding folks that are providing transportation.
Transportation is a challenge. It is across the board. It's for us too, as we're trying to get people to, sometimes people come to us and who they really need to go see is somebody else. And so getting people to the place they need to go, it is hard. And it's also not typically funded all that well. So like we use Uber Health and we use taxis, we have shuttles and other things like that to get our patients around. But most of the time, if you can't use insurance to go for it, it's just an unfunded cost that we have to try to avoid. We use a lot of bus passes. But yeah, we don't have like necessarily a way for somebody to say, hey, there's somebody who wants treatment over here for us to go get. That's a good question and a barrier. Yeah.
This may not be accurate anymore. There was a time where you had to have used or been higher within a certain period of time. Can you walk in and not have used in 48 hours, or do you have to be?
Absolutely can.
Okay.
Absolutely, you can come right in. So at that point, you may not need a detox service, but like I said, there's multiple levels of care, and so it's really about how you're coming in and what your needs are at that point. But sure. We can move on to the next slide. Oh, okay, so this is just to highlight how our programs are evolving and where we're at with treatment at this point. So we just opened a new program called the Residents. It is a program, most folks in a residential level of care stay in, they sometimes call them 30-day programs because people usually stay about a month. This program is designed for people to stay 4 to 6 months and is intentionally designed that way to address social determinants of health other than the substance use problem. So the idea that someone can stay with us, stay in care and get the treatment they need, but also stay long enough so that we can work on vocational training and placement and finding appropriate housing, rebuilding community connections, whether that's you know, faith-based or family, friends, whatever it is that are different people's support structures in our lives. And then, you know, allowing those things to create a better foundation so that when you leave our program, those aren't barriers that you're trying to address the same day that you're in new recovery and you're like, well, how am I gonna find a place to live? Where am I gonna work? So all those pieces we're trying to build into a wraparound approach so that folks have a better chance, more stable recovery process. So that just opened on Halloween, and it opened at 14 beds. We're gonna open 16 more. It has had 14 people in it since the day it opened, and it'll stay that way. There's not enough. We need more programs like this. We have one that's also for women and children, but it's a really good service.
Are you able to medically clear people here? Do people have to go somewhere else?
For general medical services,
No, I mean, there used to be, and again, these are maybe old thoughts, but there was a time where, you know, if somebody's actively detoxing, you know, maybe there's some health concerns, maybe somebody's blood pressure is really high.
you would go to that program well after that phase of care.
Okay,
But we do also link folks in that program to primary care, because that's another key component that's important for post-treatment. We can go to the next slide. All right, gambling is something we get a lot of questions about right now because of, I'm sure if any of you have watched any of the Final Four or the NCAA, you saw a lot of gambling commercials about how you can gamble and how it's gonna be great and you're gonna win all the money. And so we have seen a full doubling of calls to our gambling treatment hotline. There are a proportion of folks who gamble and will become addicted to it in any group of people. And so when you expand the volume of people that we've expanded to gambling in the past several months, there will be a broader proportion of folks who develop a gambling addiction. Gambling addiction is different than some of the substance use work we do. It can be hidden much more easily. A lot of times people show up for treatment with us and their family and friends have no clue that they've emptied the bank account or opened accounts in their kids' names. You know, it's a very tough addiction. The suicide rate among gambling addicts is extremely high. We're one of 6 evidence-based gambling treatment centers in the state of Ohio, so we do a good bit of this work. And we do just as much prevention and education in this space as we do treatment. So it's going to be a matter of now that the gambling has become so big that the funding will start to pass through all of those entities doing gambling and start to filter down to treatment organizations like us so that we can respond appropriately. I think I covered most of that there. Serving families, I think this is important to note that a lot of times the people who are calling us are family members and friends of people who are having an issue with an addiction. And so they're looking for answers like, what can I do? How can I help? How can I get somebody in? And so something that is helpful for us is that we actually have some allocations that allow us to help and serve family members who are dealing with someone else's addiction, so that they can kind of move through that recovery process with them in a more informed or healthy, less stressful way. Okay, I already talked about walk-in hours, but I think I want to put it up here just so that anybody who has anybody or knows anybody or ever needs the resources, this is where it is. This is how you can get to it. But there are web forms, phones, walk-in, anytime. But I think that's an important place for people to know that they can go get treatment if they want. That's it for me tonight. I'm glad to answer any questions. Yeah, sure.
I'm not expecting that you guys have the ability to have folks present to do community outreach at events. But do you have packets that maybe you could give to folks like us? Because in our neighborhood, this is such an important resource. Yes, is that something you have?
Absolutely, we can, and we can get them to you. We also do have folks that work community events. We don't have enough because there's so many,
Right.
but a lot of our staff volunteer to man tables at events, and we're what's called a Project Dawn organization, which means we can pass out Narcan in public. So we often will set up information about treatment and then set up little boxes of Narcan and just give them out to the public.
I have a question. Do you partner with any other like smaller organizations on any side of town, but of course I'm asking about West Side, to do the Narcan or the strips or any kind of education or anything like that? Or does Mary Haven just do their thing? And
So we partner pretty heavily with Netcare.
Okay.
And we're a strong partner with them and with RI, who just moved into the Netcare building to do psychiatric crisis as well. We have referral information and can process referrals from the Safer Station, which is also, I think, considered in between Hilltop and Franklinton, one of those places. But our outreach team is definitely open to going wherever is needed. There are other organizations like React is a good one, who does Narcan distribution through fire department and through Southeast as well. But there are quite a few different places like us who are open to doing that outreach work.
Joe, do you have a question?
I do, yeah. Thank you very much for this presentation. Are you able to, do you know where people come from around the city when they come to your facilities?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay,
I mean, assuming that the information that was provided and taken.
of course, yeah, or that someone has an address that they could put down or
Sure.
stuff like that. But so, and maybe this is something we can follow up and discuss, but do you have a sense of what proportion at any given time of people using your facilities are from zip codes that would be considered west side Columbus versus south side versus any other?
I have to do some homework on it. There are quite a few folks who enter treatment with us at the highest level of care who are homeless. And a lot of times they give the zip code of the location that the treatment center is at, so we get a lot of 43207 zip code. But we know for sure that the distribution of our patients is often the inverted T of Columbus, if you know what I'm talking about. It goes across the southwest and south. But I could do some homework on that because we definitely have information on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't spend too much time on that just because some of the data might not be totally reliable. But ultimately, what I'm wondering here aloud is if a West Side facility makes sense for additional, potential walk-ins, because if you do have that transportation issue and you got to take the bus to get downtown, and then you got to take the bus to go south, and you got to bring that back, and then you might be juggling other things. Something a little bit more close to home could be more attainable for someone who is ready for treatment. So I'm just thinking about that.
You're right to associate access to, it's everything. Access to it when you want it and when the patient wants it is critically important.
Thank you. So,
I just have, do you have outreach folks that are focused specifically on the profile?
We do not. Until last year, we did have teams of folks who did homeless outreach specifically on the land.
That's more.
Yep, but the grant that we used to do that through the shelter board, they got rid of non-parking, so they specifically do that right there.
Great, thank you for your presentation. And I was excited to hear the information about access and just some updates about your program and services. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so Nick, you're up next. I want to let you introduce yourself.
this is like the 5-month long awaited.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Are you steering the ship?
Yeah.
I have a slide advancing.
I don't have it.
Computer just. He was so excited about this.
It's old. If you just,
What?
is it just do like a finger gun or something, whatever you want to do,
Oh.
whatever.
Oh.
I'll try.
I had one too. And he was like, I don't have any number.
Thank you.
Yeah, what's maybe the tie? Oh, there we go. This coming through for everyone?
Closer, closer.
Get it real tight.
Not too close.
Not too close, right here.
Closer.
Well, okay, I can.
That's good.
I used to teach, so I can use my teacher voice. I'll tap into it. I'm Nick Cloud. Very nice to see you all tonight. I work for the Department of Neighborhoods as well, with Full DC, part of our team, and Derek as well, who was here a little bit ago. I work specifically on our community planning team, so we have a neighborhood strategies manager that's over that team, and then we're a team of 4. So I work here in the Hilltop. We have an individual that works over in the Linden area on the One Linden community plan, and then we are about to embark on some work out in the Eastland area as well. So I'll plug that RFP if anyone is in that space and that work. They're looking for a consultant right now, so there's an RFP out that closes on April 13th to steer some of the work on the Eastland community plan. So really appreciate you all having me. It's nice to see you all. And thank you, Josh. I'll just give a quick overview. I think everyone on the area commission should have a handout of my slides. There's a stack of those as well over there, so please feel free to go over any up. I'd also encourage anyone, if you want to stop me and ask any questions at any point, please go ahead and do so. We don't have to wait till the end of the presentation. So this is just a quick overview of what I'm going to touch on. I won't try to spend too much time on any one specific area. I'd like to allow some space for question and answer. I know we're like a little bit behind. So I'll keep that in mind. So if you want to go to the next slide, this is just a kind of a reminder for those folks that were around when the community plan was developed and those folks that were involved, and for those that were not and are new to the work. The Hilltop neighborhood has a community plan. It's called the Vision Hilltop. It was developed 2018, 2019, and rolled out in 2020. So about 12 to 18 months of community engagement led to the development of this community plan. And it's your plan. It's your plan to advocate for the things you want to see in the neighborhood. There is a specific planning area where we try to focus the majority of that work. You can see it here at the bottom of this slide. I know it's kind of small, but if you kind of think kind of to the east, it starts at I-70, makes its way to the west, just west of Hague, kind of to Royce, kind of jigs and jags a little bit. And then just north of Broad, the railroad that kind of delineates between Columbus and Valley View is where it ends kind of at the north end, and then to the south end, Mount Street. So that's the planning area, largely Highland West neighborhood for the most part, with some other pieces and parts in there as well. But that's the planning area. I'll touch on some projects that have been happening and taking place. Most of them are there specifically. So Josh, if you'd like to move to the next slide, this is just an overview of the plan itself. So I'll try not to spend too much time here, but the plan, if you spend some time with it, can get very dense very quickly. There's 3 pillars of the plan. So that's kind of where we try to keep it for the most part when I start with folks, and it's people, place, and home. And I think that's a pretty easy way to associate the things that you care about relative to your neighborhood. You can see the 3 topic areas under people. There's 3 topic areas under place, and there's 3 topic areas under home. And that pretty much captures just about anything you can think of there. You dive deeper and you got 3 goals under the topic areas. And if you dive even deeper than the goals here that are on the screen, you get 2 to 4 action steps, specific goals as well. So I'm always happy, and I'll put this out here now. I'll do it at the end of my presentation as well. But if you ever want to talk about the community plan, you want to speak to me about it, you want to talk about things that you'd like to see advocated through the plan specifically, please just reach out. I'll take a phone call. I'll meet with you over here on the Hilltop. I'll meet with you anywhere else in the city. I don't want to go too far out, but I'll drive and get you where you're at. So I'm always happy to talk about the community plan and talk about your specific interests relative to it. So
That offer always stands. I'll leave some business cards before I leave here as well. My contact information will be on the slide as well. So you see the people side here, Josh, you can move to the next one, and that's place. And then home will be the third pillar, and you can move to that one as well. And so we can come back here and I can answer questions about this if this is something that you all would like me to talk about. But I'd rather talk a little bit more about some of the stuff that we've been doing since I started with the department. So I started January of last year. As I mentioned, the plan rolled out in February of 2020, so timing was less than ideal. And so it's taken some work to engage with folks in the neighborhood to make sure that they know they have a community plan. Part of that's, coming out to the Hilltop Area Commission. Some of that's going out to the civic associations, tabling at community events, and making sure that folks recognize and understand that they have a community plan and there's opportunity to be engaged with that work if you'd like to do so. This is just a capture of some of the projects that are currently or have happened. I know you have received updates on most of these because I've been here and we've received them. So Sullivan Avenue improvements. I don't have a picture of Glenwood Pool yet because I was out there just recently and it is very much under construction. But that's an exciting project as well. So there should be a new pool come summertime of this year. You have the Hilltop Early Learning Center down there over on Clarendon Avenue. And then Wheatland Farm project as well. So that's kind of at the very north end of Wheatland Avenue. Is a collaborative project with Mid-Ohio Food Collective. And they're building a large kind of vertical farm up there. And we'll be doing some really exciting stuff. They have a relatively new project manager there. And so I've been working with them a little bit and really encouraging them to do increased community engagement because I want folks to know what it is that's happening out in that space. If you go out there, you'll see the structures are actually coming up out of the ground for some of the spaces that'll be there available to the community and the folks in that immediate area. So they're excited about the level of community engagement that they can do with that farm. They want to be engaged with the neighbors and the folks in the community. And they want to take the opportunity to teach folks how to do vertical farming and vertical growing at your house, urban farming. And so they have a lot of, I think, really exciting aspirational things that they've talked about. And so one of the things I have floated out to them, and Dan, I'll work with you and the rest of the commission on is, I think it would behoove them to come to the area commission and give an update of the work they've been doing, and also working with public service to have them come out. For those of you that do know or may not know, Wheatland Avenue will also be widened. So as a part of the follow-up to phase one of that project, we're going to be widening that street. I think it's important to remind the neighborhood that that will be happening. It's something that the community has been asking for a long time, but it's also has impacts on folks that live over in that area. So I'll be working on kind of wrangling all those folks together so that we can kind of come here, give an update of all the work that's kind of happening around in that immediate space. So more to come on that. I need to get with them and understand what the best timing is, but I'm hoping kind of like maybe a late summer, early fall or mid fall type of time frame for that. So I look forward to seeing you all again, hopefully with some of those updates as well. So we move on to the next slide. So one of the things that I spent a lot of time last year kind of standing up as an advisory committee around the community plan. We have about 30 active members, give or take. Typically at a advisory committee meeting, we'll have about 20 to 25 people in attendance. Kevin Orr, who's here with Hilltop Shalom Zone, was elected by his peers to be the community co-chair. So he's been helping me kind of coordinate and plan for those advisory committee meetings this year, helping kind of participate and work with our subcommittee chairs as well to coordinate some of the work around the plan specifically. Last year we met bi-monthly for the advisory committee. This year we moved to quarterly because I really want to focus and drive the work to the subcommittees that have come out of the advisory committee. So we have 3 subcommittees. They're around each of the pillars of the plan. Ashley Montana is here as well, is the subcommittee chair for the home subcommittee.
Danny Peterson with Hilltop Arts Collective is over Place. Morgan DeBoth, who's the new executive director with Hilltop Rise Economic CDC, will also be helping out to kind of co-chair with the Place subcommittee as well. So that's something new that we're really excited about. And then I'm kind of working to identify a replacement. Kevin used to be the chair of the People's Subcommittee. So working to identify somebody there, I'm kind of taking that currently. You can see the next meetings for those subcommittees are April 12th for the People Subcommittee, it'll be virtual. And then the Home Subcommittee actually is going to be doing some canvassing with the Home Subcommittee. They're meeting at Haunts Park at 10 a.m. This Saturday. So if you're interested in being a part of that, they've been doing some really great work around just getting the word out about things like predatory home buying, the resources that folks have when, you get a random phone call or a text and it's, hey, I'd love to buy your house, or, oh, hey, I heard that you just were filed with a code compliance issue. I can take care of that for you. Would you like to sell your house to me? Those types of things that we know have been increasingly negatively impacted. So they have some other stuff to continue to do as well. So if you're interested in being involved with any of those, please reach out to me. You can reach out directly to any of the chairs as well. And I'm sure they would be more than happy to get you involved. So I know some of you all have been attending meetings here and there when you can. And I know it can be a challenge. So Josh, if you'd like to go to the next slide, we have 3 more meetings left this year. Based on feedback that I got from this area commission and from some of the civics that I've talked to, I recognize that while a large portion of the folks that have been actively engaged around the plan work since I started are community partners, and there's overlap of work, and they have the ability to participate in the spaces that we have relative to meetings and some of the work that we're doing. Not everyone has that luxury. Many of you are already volunteering for your area commission, and I recognize that this area commission has a few different committees, and so you all are very busy. So to try to accommodate and at least provide some space for folks to be able to attend some of the advisory committee meetings. June 13th and the September 12th dates are on a Tuesday in the evening from 5:30 to 7:30. The March 17th one that already took place, and the December 8th ones were on Fridays from 10 to 12. And so hopefully that gives a little bit of flexibility. I'm always open to taking more feedback if folks feel like there's still a need for some added flexibility around those. Happy to try to accommodate as best I can for that. So I didn't put it up here, but the June 13th date should be here at the library, and it'll be hybrid. So I'll be working hard to kind of do some sort of format so that everybody that has been attending virtually up to this point will be able to continue to do that effectively. But I know folks like to get together and be in that space, and I know it can lead to different types of conversation and improved conversation for some of us as well. So so we'll be working to do that for the June 13th and the rest of the dates for this year. So if you'd like to go to the next slide. And you can move past this, but I just included that there to kind of highlight some of the folks. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's many of the different organizations that have been participating with our work so far. I wanted to call that out for folks, and I'm always happy to share who's involved with the work as well. I'm not gonna share out any like uber personal information, but if you want to know, hey, Nick, who's been participating, I'll tell you. As far as I'm concerned, anything I do is probably private. So this is not specific to my work with the community planning work for the community plan, but I really wanted to call this out for any of the community partners that might be in the room or might end up looking at these slides, or any of you that might be connected with those folks. This is one of the #1 things that I really drive with folks is the community development block grant. The grants and management team and finance opened it up to the public for the first time last year. And I think the really cool thing about this pot of money is relative to some of the other ones that folks have access to, particularly many of the community partners that are engaged with the work, is that the types of funding they want to do through these types of grants is like one-off infrastructure type of things, right? Most of our community partners don't get access to a lot of those. People want to fund cool, great, impactful, programmatic stuff. They want to be able to tell that story, and it's not that exciting to talk about the $200,000 I put in so that these people could make improvements to their building or community space. But for this type of program, and this one specifically, that is the type of things, those are the type of things that they want to be able to do community development block grant. You'll hear it called CDBG as well from folks if they're abbreviating it. And so wanted to call this out. I think one of the really cool opportunities as well is that Lucy McMahon, who some of you may know, was in my role previously, so she's very familiar with the Envision Hilltop Community Plan, and we'll recognize that when we call those things out in the application. So if you're interested in this, or you're looking to apply and you want to pick anyone's brain, or you want help, or you just want to understand more about it, please reach out to me. I am happy to help with anything like that. But I plug that with all of our community partners because I think it is a real resource for folks that many of our community partners don't get a lot of opportunities to take advantage of it. So wanted to throw that out there as well. So if you want to move to the next slide, I did want to call out a couple of things, right? So you have a community plan. What does that mean for this area commission? What does it mean for folks that live in the Hilltop and in this community? Use it to advocate for the things you want to see in your neighborhood. Like I said, you got 3 pillars, 3 topic areas under 3 pillars. So you got 9 topic areas, you got 27 goals. Yeah, I don't even know how many action steps under there. Good chance that the things that you care about, or the things that you've been maybe working on or organizing around in the neighborhood or the community probably touches somewhere in the community plan. And if you need support, or you want to be plugged into other folks doing that work, then we can make that happen through the Envision Hilltop plan. And I'm happy to try to do that for folks. I'm happy to have conversations about places and spaces where you might be able to do that more effectively, or that there might be funding for. I don't make any promises around those things, but that's what I'm here to do. I am your resource. I don't go anywhere else now. Yay, we have additional people on our community planning team, so I get to focus just here in the Hilltop. And so I am here to help you all advocate through the plan for the ways that you would like to do that. And so that's the #1 thing that I'd like to highlight. I think the timing is really great because I think one of the reasons I called out the projects that I did in this specific presentation is I think there's opportunity for the area commission outside of the work you do for zoning and the variances and that function that you play, is to advocate for capital investment. And so you have a capital improvement program that runs every year through the city, and it's our opportunity to remind them on a regular basis that they have a community plan here in the Hilltop, and that it's an opportunity for them to prioritize investment through the capital improvement program and the operating budget that they approve every year. And prioritize the Hilltop relative to the other investments that they're making, right? And so there's opportunities, I think at minimum, as you are receiving things and you all are having conversations about what you want to prioritize relative to what you submit to city council, at minimum, I think there's opportunity to tie it back into the Envision Hilltop plan if you're not already doing so, and I'm happy to help with that. So if you want me here to participate in any of those conversations, please let me know. Advance notice is always great. Similar to Zach, who's gone now, but we just had our second kid, so I have like a 3-month-old at home, and so I try not to leave the house too often and abandon my wife, so to speak. So so just let me know. I'm happy to come out, and even if it's hopping on virtually or whatever it is that makes the most sense and is most convenient for folks, happy to do that. I also think there's opportunity to support and inform the work of any of the area commission's committee work. So if there's specific committee work that you feel it really aligns with some of the areas of the Envision Hilltop plan, obviously there are. I know Ashley does a fabulous job of showing up to all of the planning and economic development meetings, kind of those committee meetings, and helping kind of steer and guide and remind folks, what does it say in the community plan? What did folks say during those 12 to 18 months of community engagement they wanted to see relative to housing? What did they say they want to see relative to workforce and those types of
So I think there's always opportunity to tie back into that. And it's gonna increase and improve the opportunity you all have when you're out there advocating and telling city council or the mayor's office or city leadership or city staff or partner organizations, whoever it is. It's gonna help you, I personally think, to tell that story. And so you can move to that last slide, which is kind of similar to what can the plan do and what can I do for you all? So like I said, I'm your advocate. I'm here to help. I will come to any meetings that you ask me to come to the best of my ability. And so I can help you connect that way to the Vision Hilltop. So if you want to have a conversation about some of the work that's happening, I'm happy to do that. And on the internal end, I'm happy and will be, oh shoot. I'm happy to ask, sorry. I'm actively advocating internally and working with other divisions and departments within the city and making sure that they recognize that there's a community plan to be tying into when they're thinking about the investment that they're making as well. So I'm not always ahead of all those things, but the more conversations, the more opportunities I have to meet and talk with the area commission and other folks that are engaged in the spaces, it's more opportunity for me to be doing that when I am in a meeting with Alex and or public service or whoever it is. And so just a reminder that those opportunities are out there as well. So I think that is just about the end. So you can go to the last slide. I'll open it up for question and answer. If you all have any questions, if I don't have an answer for you, I'll follow up.
We're unfortunately not gonna have time for a lot of questions, but if you don't break my rule, go ahead, ask a question.
Yes.
So you've mentioned you're willing to be an advocate for it. I believe you. We've talked, like, I know you have kind of that part. What I'm worried about though is like, what is happening on the back end? Are you having regular touches, like sit downs with council? They're inevitably going to be ones for funding these programs. They're going to be, making the legislative action that some of the plan calls for. Have they reached out to you? Have you reached out to them? Or do you do like quarterly sit downs to be like, these are the things, we spent a lot of time and money on this plan, like how can we get it done? Is that happening?
Yes.
Because you can talk to us till we're all like blue in the face, but like if it's not getting
yeah.
passed up the chain, that's why I'm.
Yeah, I know it happened at my subcommittee, like Avery was at my last subcommittee, and like Dan mentioned the bullet points. Legislative package that relates to affordable housing, and I think some of that you could say is in the plan as well. Some of it might be challenging though.
Yes. And so I was looking around to see if anybody is doing that. So like council's job is to approve budgets. And that's what they are there to do, to approve an operating budget, capital budget. And so yes, I do have a relationship with some of the council offices. I don't typically meet with them that much. It's more with city departments and divisions because that's where the budget items should be developed and occur, right? So you have a capital improvement, the people that put that budget together are the city departments. And so making sure that they recognize and know that there's a community plan, yes, I can have conversations with them, meeting with them. One of the things I've been working on, I didn't share here, but I'll share it with you all as soon as I've kind of got it completed. It's just like a very large tracking document for all of the tons of stuff that's in the community plan. So part of that is following up with everyone, understand what it was that they're doing and if they're hitting the things that we have identified or were identified within that community. So, so yes, as far as I feel is appropriate, but I'm also very open if we have conversations. You say, Nick, I really think that you should be sitting down more with some. So happy to do that.
Great. Thank you, Nick. I really do appreciate you being here. Like Joe said, it was 5 months in the making. We had, had a baby and then, but didn't really know. I'd like to have you come back on a relatively regular basis. I think the thread of all of this working together is important. So thank you, Nick, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks. So moving on to our report of officers, I'll make mine really quick. Just continue to attend the Zone in Columbus meetings. There's an advisory committee that was formed. Our next meeting is tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So I'll just continue to provide updates. There's a lot more kind of community relations and public information coming out about what's been happening in the zone in Columbus. group. I can't point exactly to where the links are, but there's some videos and some different links that are starting to come out. I'll try to make sure that we maybe include those in the West Side Bulletin maybe is, so, yeah.
Actually, there's gonna be an update for the community on April 10th, from 11 to 12. It's already in the bulletin, but I'll send the link out again this week, so there'll be a major update coming.
She's a hardworking neighborhood liaison. I love it. So I knew that there was something like that. Couldn't put my finger on it. So that's great. Thank you for sharing that. Just want to remind commissioners that there is an area commission training that city council had sponsored outside of the ongoing commission training called the Columbus Urban Public Policy Academy. There's 3 trainings that are being offered. They were offered in April, I think in May, and then June. You can go to one or all 3 of them. I know Victoria both have completed all 3 of the trainings. They were really worth the time. They're 2-hour blocks of time on Saturday mornings, but there's a link in our email. It's called the Columbus Urban Public Policy Academy. 3 really good trainings that are put together. That's it for my updates.
And so I'll just add a little bit to what Dan said in that. Do I need testing? There we go. I'll add a little bit to the trainings. The other amazing piece to that is that you're in a room full of commissioners from all over the city. And so you're able to hear the pieces and parts that are concerning them and then exchange ideas. It's really amazing. So if you can go. What I'm going to talk about is in light of all the requests we have of individuals wanting to speak in front of the full commission, Dan and I are working on a speaker request form that will detail excuse me, some things regarding about the subject, what they want to talk about, will identify how much time they're allowed to have, all those things. And that form actually is going to go in front of the Community Relations Committee once we develop it, so that there would be some buy-in and comment regarding the things that we are asking. So the Community Relations Committee will review the form. It should be this month that it's given to that committee, and then we'll bring it back. That's going to help us logistically with all the requests for speakers, and I know that the committees get them too, right? The chairs of the committees get requests too, but everyone's going to have to fill out that form, and we'll have 2. There'll be one for presentations, and there'll be another for public comments. So we're just trying to monitor and strategically ensure that those that want to speak can speak. Okay.
Okay, so Joe, as our secretary, anything to report? No, thank you, sir. And our treasurer, Josh. Next in.
Yeah, so we didn't have an update on the actual report itself, but we did have the finance committee meeting where we discussed basically how we're going to spend the money for this upcoming year. As we stated earlier in the meeting, we have money that needs to be spent by the end of the month, which that was also discussed at the meeting as well. I met with the bank, got access to the account. I got a debit card as well from Huntington, so we can start using that a little bit easier. And so as we're spending, just let me know when you want to spend to purchase something for the commission. I can either get you the debit card, or if it's an online purchase, then we can work something out. And then if you need reimbursed, give me the receipts as quickly as possible, and I can write a check to you. Make sure that you deposit it before the end of the month, so that it's recorded that way as well. So yeah, that's about all I had.
This a new card that Dan's old card is now no longer good?
That's a fantastic question.
It is, because we got some stuff coming up on the end of the month that's gonna hit one of the cards.
I have a card. Did you get over to Huntington?
No, initially I knew I wasn't supposed to go, and then they said I do need to go, and I have not been able to make it there during the day. So I can compare our card numbers. They probably don't match, but yeah, it's a great question because
our Zoom license and those things are all gonna come out. Okay. Yeah, we need to connect.
Yeah, I can get you the first for that card as well, so, we can also just switch it over.
Yeah, easy enough.
I think because I haven't gone yet, I think Josh is probably the only person with signing ability now. I probably have just been removed from the account, probably, so.
Yeah, I think you're temporarily removed.
Okay.
But you go in and all you have to do is just sign one line.
Yeah.
So there's two people on the account, just in case if somebody needs, something. Right then, they can have two people to talk to instead of just me. So
I'm gonna sneak a bit of business here. It's probably out of order, but we talked to the finance committee about a list of things to spend the rest of our funds on. I'm not sure I don't know if there's any activity happening. I know there were some door hangers that we wanted to get printed. I was gonna purchase some additional microphones. Now is the time, right? So just send emails to Josh and I about, are you planning to spend what you said you were gonna spend, right? I have a list if anybody needs reminded. We talked about buying stamps so we could send postcards and all of those items. OLBC is really challenging us to spend all the money. I'm gonna put something out. I don't think we're gonna be able to get to spending it all at this point, is my prediction. So I want to propose, this probably isn't the way order happens in a meeting, but I'd like to propose that we have the opportunity to potentially do some strategic planning with a consultant that used to, or I think she was working for the United Way. There's an opportunity at a pretty steep discount for us to be able to get together for a block of time to talk about, strategically how the work of the committees can continue to move their projects forward, to be able to just identify a plan for the next year. That would be an opportunity to spend approximately $500 that I think is potentially a good use of those funds. So I know I'm putting that right out there. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in as an item for business later on when after we go through the committee reports. I'll bring that back up if that's okay. All right.
one other thing was when we discussed in the finance committee, how much money we had to spend by the end of this month. We were off a little bit. We do actually have a full 2,500. So I think we discussed that we had around 1,900. So yeah, we do have a little bit more money to play with. So I think we can swing that.
Yeah, so we were predicting we could potentially even have $600 right now, even if we were to purchase all the items that we had talked about in finance committee. Okay, and I'm sorry, what was your?
No, I was just gonna say is we're gonna need some money too, like the public safety. We want to print out some of the help out resident kit that we will start passing out canvassing. So that's gonna require some money.
We have money allocated to public safety for advertising or basically effectively.
Okay.
So help me though with the clarity around if we're going to be able to get it printed and get an invoice and do all that by April 30th, that's good for this money. If you can't, then we get a new allotment of money May 1st, and then there'll be money that we'll be talking about for the next 12 months. Right, good to hear. Just make sure you're communicating with Josh, so we know to get those receipts and itemize our report. So, okay, great. So moving on to the reports of committees. So our zoning chair is up next, Rachel Winning, because she's out of town. So Simon Dallas is gonna take care of business for this committee for this evening.
Awesome, thank you, Chairman. So we just have one this is a variance request. It's for 1826 Hall Run Drive. The request is to reduce the side yard from 5 feet to about 6 inches. That property, the reasoning for that is there's an existing carport that the owner had previously installed, and recently it is out of code. So in order to get it into code, they need to decrease the side yard distance. I think the owner is here if you want to pass out.
Yes. Hello, everybody. They told me that there's a couple of important things to mention to you that would be a favorable response. One of them, the big one, was where this is too close to the neighbors. How does the neighbor feel about it? You know what I mean? the neighbor, and this has been an existing thing, it's been there for years and years, right? It was just great. The neighbor is perfectly fine with it. They can't come here at night, but I had them sign letters with their phone numbers. And the neighbors are perfectly fine with that, no problem with this whatsoever, you know? And if you will, I mean, they put their phone numbers for anybody that wants to call them to confirm that what I'm saying. And then, they also, I know you guys also send letters to the whole community if anybody has a problem. And I was here 2 Tuesdays ago and nobody in that entire subdivision that were sent letters, nobody has a problem with it, you know, because nobody showed up. The second thing they told us to kind of would help is to just demonstrate that the way this driveway is, these houses, I think they were built in the 50s or 60s. Almost every driveway in that neighborhood is almost exactly the same, you know, they're all very narrow driveways, the houses are fairly close to each other, and ours is 1826, I've got pictures for you for 1818. You can see they're all very close driveways, 1832. Almost every house, you know, 1840. So our driveway is nothing unique, it just happens that we were cited and nobody else was cited, you know what I mean? All the drivers in that subdivision are houses are built ranch houses next to each other, you know what I mean? And so that they told us if you demonstrate that this is not really unusual, like we're not weird compared to everybody else, that would be a favorable thing. So those were the two things that, you know, that they told me would be important. First of all, does anybody in the community, including the neighbor, has a problem with it? And whether this is like weird or is it just usual for that subdivision?
Great, thank you. Are there any commissioner questions?
How long have you on this one? On this house?
Probably about, I want to give you maybe 8 or 9 years.
Okay. I remember this came up like a couple of, like 2 years ago.
Before COVID, right before COVID became, and then we were gonna come, and then the meetings got canceled, and then we're scrambling to schedule another meeting, so that's how we did it. It was just happened right before COVID. You're right. It was right when everybody closed the whole country down, you know.
Any community questions? I would move to experience.
And so we will take a roll. And I'm gonna start with Chair Gauss. Chair Gauss.
Yes.
And then go to Chair Payne.
What was the committee's
Unanimous in support.
Payne?
I was at the committee meeting, heard the full presentation, and I would support yes.
And
Yeah.
okay, I'm just gonna go down the line.
Yes.
And Lee,
Yes.
and Jenny,
Yes.
and Lamb,
Yes.
and Josh.
Yes.
I'm sorry, yeah. I heard Maddox. Thank you. And Mr. Paxton.
Yes.
And Commissioner Schreck,
Yes.
Commissioner Klein,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
yes.
I'm a yes. Thank you.
Okay, so we will send a letter to the city, letting them know that we approve this. They will be reaching out to you with next steps.
All right, I gave you 2 copies of the letter from the neighbors. Can I keep one of them for myself? Because there's one more copy for you guys. Oh, just keep this one. You want me to take these or you want to keep them for souvenirs? You can keep them. Thank you. I have lots of them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And then the next zoning committee meeting is going to be Tuesday, April 18th. We will be hearing from 346 Ryan Avenue, which is they're requesting a variance to install a duplex and then also a carriage house over a parking garage. This is one of the properties that was a land bank property that was sold to a developer. So we expect a good turnout from the community. 346 Ryan Avenue.
Can I just have a quick update? The zoning committee hears or receives demolition permits. And there was one that came to the committee. And so there's a 60-day waiting period once we get the demolition applications, or once the city gets them, there's a 60-day waiting period for any public comment. And so there was one that came to the commission for 36 North Sullivan Avenue for the demolition of part of what is the car repair crash collision business that's there. And so we recommended approving that demolition permit that, you know, the commission would say, yeah, that would be fine. So we are not bringing those demolition permits to the full commission, but Rachel asked if we could just give an update that permit was recommended for approval. So that does potentially help speed up, I think, the waiting period. I think the 60-day waiting period ends on May 26th, but if there's opportunities to get public comment before that, I think it speeds it up. I want to find that out, but they're eager to get this started. So
The address again?
36 North Sullivan. Okay, great. Anything else? So moving on to our next committee, community relations. Do you have a report?
Do not, I was not at the previous meeting. Our next meeting will be on the 25th of April. No. Kayla's on here, right? So, yeah, no, 25th of April, next meeting at the Design Refinery at 6:30 p.m.
The agenda again. There we go. Our Government and Legislation Committee Chairperson Leah Bretno.
We will not be meeting this month. We did not meet last month. Stay tuned for possible presentation.
Okay, perfect. So there won't be a meeting in the month of April. Okay. What about Human Services and Education Committee?
We had a very good initial meeting around the Beacon Road Elementary and property and related to the facilities master plan that was led by James here. And I'll just quickly mention in attendance, we had representatives from public safety, from Parks and Recreation, from the library, from Columbus City Schools, and including Jennifer Adair. And there was a very productive dialogue about the process that is going to be taking place around Eakin. James put a lot of work into identifying where there are community resources in that southwestern portion of our boundary. And the big takeaway from me so far, well, there's a couple of things, but they were adamant that they're not going to give up their property. They want to develop community school functions to help to meet and serve residents of that area. And I'll just ask James if there's anything else that you want to say at this point while we don't have a ton of additional content.
I thought it was pretty optimistic and hopeful. There's an article in the Messenger. Everybody in attendance from the school board, library, Parks and Rec, even public safety, they're pretty optimistic that they could all potentially come to the table and do something. It's just getting everybody supporting that initiative to get the funding allocated so that we could actually see something over in that community. They've all kind of acknowledged that there are resources in that area that are lacking that they would love to bring to that area. It's just my next steps are going to be following up and pushing out hopefully a letter from the area commission kind of in favor and support of trying to build or develop a future use plan for that site or that community that encompasses all those resources that we discussed at the meeting.
And thank you very much. We are scheduled for Wednesday, April 19th at 6 p.m. right here again at the library. So if you can join us, let me see you there.
Thank you.
Then you just want me to go with parks.
That would be great.
So Parks and Recs, we did meet last month at Stevens Drive Park. The report's up online on the Google Doc Drive if you want to look at it. Overall, we did rate the park as poor. It dropped by a grade from last year just because we didn't see any real site improvements when it came to the entrance. There's no sign, there's no trash can. About the only thing Parks and Rec really did was put up a kind of a chain at one of the entrances to just kind of block people from driving in through the park. It wasn't really an issue before. Our next meeting is going to be next Saturday, and we will be meeting in person to do the same thing, discuss Hans Park. That's going to be at 11 a.m. There's also a copy of the blank report on the Google Docs Drive, along with the full schedule of where we're going to be at this summer moving forward. So if anybody's interested, we'll be picking up trash, having a discussion, and talking about our parks and what we can do to make them better for our community. Thanks.
Next is Andrew Stryker with our Liquor Permit Review Committee.
We have no new business and we're not against.
Perfect, thank you. Our co-chair Simon Dallas and Victoria Klein are Planning and Economic Development Committee.
Thank you, Dan. So this month we had Emma Cody from the Division of Traffic Management come and talk to us about the city study that they're doing on West Mountain between Central Avenue and Wayne Avenue. They are planning on repaving that, and we will make sure to share the study on the Facebook page for the area commission. They're going, a big component of that is they're going to be restriping the roads to go from a 4-lane to 2-lane traffic to really slow down. And then they're going to be discussing they're looking at potentially installing parts of bike paths, different traffic or speed calming measures. And there is going to be public comments available. The timeline of the project is, if I can the timing of the project is they're going to be looking at doing capacity analysis through May. Emma will be coming to the May full commission meeting, and then May to June comment period with the city will be open. And then June to August, they're going to be identifying preferred alternatives and preparing pavement markings. And then is there?
Do you just want to share about the next video?
Sure.
You get confirmation.
Yes. So the next meeting is going to be April 27th at 5:30 p.m. We're going to be having a representative from the land bank coming to talk about the sale of properties to developers and kind of what their expectations are and how our current plan fits in with that.
Excited to hear that.
It'll be a good one.
Yeah. Excited to be a part of that meeting.
Okay, great. I'll keep shutting the agenda. Our Public Safety Committee co-chairpersons, Hanet and Malik.
Yeah, so 2 Saturday ago, there was a partnership between Step in the Right Direction, Columbus Public Health and GHAC Public Safety, where we met, maybe this room, sorry, where we gave out gun Sorry. They're called- Gun lock boxes, and we gave out about 40 or 30 of them, so we're hoping, so we're hoping to do that every other month. I think Corey from the public health wants to come in every month and give out those boxes. We had about 10 of them, we actually had 50, but about 20 of them did show up, so we're hoping that if we do it more frequently, people would actually come in and take those boxes. Our next meeting is April 27th at 6:30. The other thing that we're hoping to complete by the end of this month is our Hilltop resident kit, kind of like what Franklinton does for new residents, and we use theirs as a baseline. So we're hoping to have that completed, and you've helped out a lot with the questions. I thank you so much.
And we did our first trauma training at Wedgewood last Friday. And we're going to make this a monthly thing that we make available to organizations in our community that are working with youth or working with the community. So they understand what it means to be trauma informed, hoping to push people more into understand that it's what happened to you, not what's wrong with you. And so that's something we'll continue to do as well.
I have a question. Who's providing that training? Who's doing the training?
I'm doing the training,
Oh, on behalf of the,
public safety, but what I'm using is the curriculum that's been developed through the Columbus Care Coalition.
You have the next monthly day scheduled to do that?
No, it's open to the, so this was a pilot, I guess, a test run. We did it over at the community center. It was requested by Zerka's group, My Project USA. So anyone that knows an organization, so what we probably need to do is create a Google form that people can request it. And we'll make it available once a month to organizations in the Hilltop.
Oh, I see. Okay, understood. Great. Great, thank you. So that finishes our committee reports.
Really appreciate the kind of efforts that we made to align and combine some of the committee meetings where possible. We tried some of that this past month, 2 committees kind of coming together for a 2-hour block of time. So again, not forcing that on the committees or anything, continue to try to synergize where we can. I think that it's helpful in terms of the number of meetings that are actually on the calendar of the month. So I just want to thank everybody for their efforts to try to do that, and we'll see how that continues to go. All right, so on to unfinished business. Josh, I'm going to ask for your help to show something on the screen here. So whether or not this is the best process, I'll leave that to be determined. But for the last 60 days or so, we've been asked to bring capital budget requests forward, right? What ideas can we bring forward around capital budget requests for the Greater Hilltop? So we're being asked as a commission, we're being asked to go out and, get comments from people that we are to represent. How can we do that? At Honnet, for example, went to Nextdoor and put some posts on that social media app and said, what are some ideas? I have a slide about that you gave me those right before the meeting, put those on a slide. But we tried to collect input from our different committees and came up with, we've been asked to do this. I've been a commissioner now for 4 years, I think. So each year we're being asked to put together a list of capital budget requests. And last year we used that as we've been working with Avery Townsend on which of these capital budget requests actually were able to get any progress or any funding, and how many of them are in process and how many of them are yet to be funded or yet to even be, scoped or whatever. So basically we took some of the unfinished items from last year. We put together 5, we were asked to bring 5 capital budget requests as the commission forward. And so in this list here, you'll see the ones of those 5s that were not done or not in process. And then these were some additional requests that came forward, and we itemized them A through I in no particular order. Now, the reason we did this is because we as commissioners were asked to give it the top 3 will be your top ranked 1, 2, and 3, right? And so there's a lot to do here. How do you prioritize? So I simply put out a form and we put a vote out. So if you go to the next slide. Basically, I just created a form and said, what's your first choice, what's your second choice, and what's your third choice? And these are how they came in, based on if you're thinking about what your vote would be. So H, the alleys in the central hilltop region, paving and repairing those alleys, including the potholes, remediate flooding issues and more lighting, was voted, got the most numbers of votes. A would be the next, increase refuse removal resources east of Hague Avenue. And the third would be crosswalk and sidewalk upgrades along West Broad Street between I-70 and 270. Those are of that list that came forward, those would be the way we as commissioners voted to move those forward. So the way that stands, we can have a discussion about that, but I was able to get really almost everybody to weigh in. I think we got 13 out of 15 commissioners to vote on this. So is there any discussion of this? Any questions? Yeah.
Can I ask when you pulled the survey results down
About 5 o'clock
today?
Mhm.
Okay. So I wasn't able to. So comment related to item F. How do we think Linkus is going to affect West Broad Street development? Obviously not in the immediate near term, but is the city going to agree to allocate resources to something that they know is going to be swapped out for Bus Rapid in 3, 5, 6 years?
And then just to add to that, I know that we've had the discussion that the sidewalks between Wilson Road and 270 are in the county/township, so the city's not even going to bother putting in sidewalks there. It wouldn't be a request to them. So I'm with Joe with, I think F needs to be swapped out for something that's not already partially funded in a project that's planned in the future, and B is actually in the city's jurisdiction.
I'm not saying it's not worth working towards, but
I mean, we can keep following up, but it's just in those two different buckets. It doesn't seem like it's fully 100% an ask right now.
Understood. So what F got was 6 of the votes, right? In terms of it being the top. So and I'm just for conversation, right?
yeah.
It's been on a list now for 3 years. If this were going on a prioritized list, this will be the 3rd year in a row. And I don't feel like I'm any closer to getting a response, whether or not that's going to happen. Right. So to your point, it may be funded through Linkus. It may be not even something that the city would even put any money into. It's still a great question. I don't know the answer.
So did we ever ask that? I mean, at some point, did you ask if, I know you said you got some feedback that it's not in the jurisdiction of the city to do that, but this is a big area, right? 70 all the way up to 270.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I just mean from like our body, if we're making a request, it seems like F falls into outside of the city's jurisdiction, and part of it is part of another project. So the city's not gonna even look at it. They're just gonna cross it off the list and not bother. So I'm just asking why we can't swap it out for something that doesn't have those restrictions of it's funded through another project and it's not outside the city's jurisdiction.
I just want to make sure that that is exactly what's going to happen, right? Before we take it off.
Well, the chunk from I-70 to Wilson is through Linkus. Morpsey's taken the funding that's already been allocated to West Broad to do the bus rapid transit with their center lane bus. Like that project's moving forward. The other part of it is we as the commission needs to go in front of the county and ask them why there's no sidewalks from Wilson to 270. Because that's where that request needs to go. It doesn't go to the city.
But I would like to see a plan. I mean, I think we should have a plan before we remove things. I get it, but this is due when?
But that's
What is
due to
this
the city.
I know,
So
I understand,
yeah.
understand, but I'm just bringing up another point of view.
Why don't we remove it? I
No.
still want to push it.
No, I'm saying for this section, right? And just making sure that there is something that's gonna happen, I don't care who is responsible, right? Like finding out the answer, so that we can be strategic in what we request. You know, I mean, because honestly, how many people voted for that one? Yeah, so that was the third runner-up out of the top three.
It was tied for second. yeah.
Okay, so we need to do more education or something.
Yeah.
To the commissioners, I mean, to your point.
How many of those were like second or third votes for?
If you go back to the next slide or go
Yeah.
forward to the
I'm
next
just
slide,
curious
Josh.
about that.
I'll be totally transparent. I put this form together thinking this is gonna work great. Give me first, second, third.
Yeah.
And then I started questioning this so then I just counted the number of votes, right? Don't know if that actually makes sense. Think it does.
It works, yeah.
Yeah, it works, but I understand what if this is,
In a perfect world, we'd be doing ranked
it got-
choice voting, but yeah, if you want to build an algorithm to do that.
So
then unfortunately,
So would be B would be the one that would come next, right? If we put FR.
well, okay, so 2 points. One would be if we move beyond that one and said what comes next, it would be B or D. So if you go back, B is the construction of a multi-purpose community facility in the Holly Hill, Georgian Heights area, which is kind of what we were talking about around where the Eakin Elementary School is. The other would be alley and street cameras for high traffic areas. Though not determined what those high traffic areas are. Okay, so, hold on one second. If we took that position and took that off the table and said, well, what would be ranked next? We'd have a tie for the next item. And then, to your point, if we prioritize that and say, the city still needs to invest resources in problem solving this, right? It's not exactly maybe money that's gonna put a sidewalk in, but we've been asking for this to be paid attention to now for a couple of years. And so there's a point to be made about that. So I'm gonna go to Joe and then Betty. Yeah.
Thank you. I have two questions.
Yeah.
What is the absolute last date that Avery is willing to accept a recommendation from us? Do we have more time? Do we have time?
Well, again, I mean, I don't know that, we're gonna be like disbanded or whatever, but we're asked to vote on the top 3 priorities at this meeting tonight so that Avery can present those to who she needs to present them to.
Can we
won't be back together again as a full commissioner for a month. And so that's too far outside
so that's
of what they need, right?
And then the second question, thank you. Then the second question is, so for example, I know of other traffic calming that I've heard of, so we have Steele Avenue between North Brinker and North Hague identified, but could we potentially amend that to include other very people just flat Greek that there's gonna be we're gonna be addressed with slow streets. That, this only identifies a short stretch on Steele, but so do we have room to edit something like speed bump or traffic calming to include additional sites? We could tell Avery and be like, okay, we're definitely gonna come forward with at least this one. And we're gonna consider, 2 or 3 more.
No, Joe, so here's what we could do. A couple of options, the way I see it. We could prioritize the top 3 and include as many more as we would like to, right? So that's one thing that we can do. Because last year we were asked to just 5 and not rank them. This year it's like no 3 and rank them. And I said, could we include other ones? We absolutely could. So that's one option. The other option, and just to explain the process for anybody listening, is that I ask everybody to give input to this list that was here, right, over the course of the last week and a half. And those are the things that got brought forward. So we do have opportunity now to talk about refining some of that, but we're going to have to go through the process of ranking them and kind of making a collective decision about what we'd like to present
with the
forward.
And I'm aware of the capital improvement budget process. It should have been something that I did expedite, but we were preparing for a pretty critical meeting last month. And so the committee business, at least within what we're hoping to hear, was.
May I have your attention,
the time
please?
spent on
The library will be closing in 30 minutes.
Please use this time to check out materials, print and save documents. If you need to call for a ride home, please do so now. The library will be closing in 30 minutes.
So literally, like after we put this vote, we need to put capital budget requests for next year on the agenda for planning and economic development and all the committees, right? Like, we really need to be talking about this now to get ready for what could potentially be next March, right? So runways, say this, but I want to see if any.
On crosswalks and sidewalk upgrades. And I don't think the 30% is design phase just yet, but there's 5 to 7 years from shovels in the ground. That's a long period of time to have crosswalks that aren't safe. Sidewalks, you know, I agree, putting money into that and tearing that up wouldn't be prudent. But crosswalks are talking about paint. And I think Olabisi, is it called safe streets or slow streets? I get confused because the city has an initiative. Is it slow streets? Slow streets. Crosswalks, like I say, is paint. It's not much to ask for. And I agree that we need to break it out between the township and the city. But we're talking a large portion of West Broad Street from the bottom of the hill all the way to Wilson. That's my input.
No, that's helpful. So you're asking us to consider whether or not F would be crosswalk upgrades along West Broad Street between I-70 and 270. Well, I mean, we can include it. Alex.
Just to add to that a little bit, my name's Alex Sauersmith. You don't know me. From the city, I work for the Department of Development, so I'm not going to speak on behalf of public service here. But just through my experience over the years, you know, sidewalks are going to be under the purview, if they exist, under the purview of the property owner, the adjacent property owner, and their responsibility. So the only sidewalk work that you would get done with a capital project would be building new sidewalks, which is again in the county area by and large. With the crosswalks, it is just paint, but they have to be studied, and on a high volume, potentially high speed roadway like West Broad, there's going to be likely a lot of hesitation on putting them down until they have a larger project that would not just spread crosswalks, but would do a complete streetscape project, which would come along with Linkus, which would help calm traffic in other ways so that the crossings are shorter and safer to navigate, and speeds hopefully would be lowered as well. So just kind of level setting here a little bit, not saying that there's not a need there, and not saying that this isn't something that you would see, but.
So I'm going to go to Leah. You had a question, and then Olabisi, and then Josh.
I guess more of a comment. I would like to remind people that besides what we put on our official list, like we can all individually fill out that form. We can still share that with our neighbors. We can still like advocate for the, you know, the additional, 7 things on this list that didn't make it into the top 3. This is obviously very important, and I would love for us to come to some kind of consensus, but there's like, we should all be still filling out this form as individuals, and like everyone in the audience should be filling out this form as individuals.
Yeah, I wanted to, once we go through, I want to see if Josh can handle one more thing, is, you know, we could highlight the form for anybody watching, but thank you, good point. Olabisi, did you have a comment or question?
Oh, I wanted to bring up a general point, but since we're running short on time, I can wait. It's not.
I had a question for Alex. Since sidewalks are gonna be kind of a cover cell, what about like traffic calming, like whether it be like chicanes or like speed bumps or something like that? I mean, just well, no, not on West Broad.
Traffic certain.
No, but I mean like yeah, so like
For a street like that, I'd say, yeah, you'd have a better chance of getting something like that. From, you know, my knowledge, they are, you know, I've heard this for a bit, but I really think they are close to it, providing traffic calming program as the slow streets thing has maybe not been quite what they thought it would be. I think they want to more of the traditional things you're talking about, horizontal, vertical deflection, stuff like that, on more residential streets, Steel Avenue, Whitlow, streets like that, but possibly Eureka and other streets like that. There's potential. They're not saying that it would be, but I mean, it's a good thing to, I would think, to advocate for, and it's something that they're going to hear from a lot of different places around town. So if you put that on your list, it may kind of raise you up in priority.
Thank you.
Also, with the refuse removal, is that gonna be an operational or a capital? I'm not super familiar with their work, but it seems more like an operation. To me. That's something just to look into.
So your point is with A, the way we scribe this, to increase refuse removal resources, is that a capital budget request? So is it more trucks? Is it more dumpster, cans? Is it more, you have to think about the capital side of this, right?
Or operational.
Right, if they do, I'm making this up, 2 pickups a week, that's an operational funding issue, it's not a capital budget request. It was more like, what I understood this, when this was added, collectively added was, we need a solution for trash pickup, specifically alleys. A lot of the explanations were given is trucks wouldn't be right, the cans aren't right, those kinds of things, those feel like capital. Alleys are too narrow to do the kind of refuse collection, so.
Alleys aren't, equipped to handle the truck, like they're
Whatever,
potholes.
their slope, their.
Yeah,
All of that is
All those
what, I
things.
mean, it's a great point. When we draft this, it needs to be, I think it needs to be itemized better to say,
In the future, if we do get to a place where we're like doing this well in advance, would it be feasible to like create a master list of like 30 things that we think the Hilltop needs, that we want to like present them to Avery or whoever, like tell us which ones actually qualify for capital funding? Is this something that like, would the city be willing to do that, like going through our list, and be like, this is actually what qualifies, this is a waste of your time?
So, Westwood is actually going through that right now, so yeah.
yeah. And I think that ability with the longer time for us to get these lists together to refine the request. Because I think there's a lot to be, envisioned in what we're asking, honestly. It's not specific enough, maybe. So that might be a good time.
I was just discussing the same thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what increased refuse removal resources, that could mean anything. And so I would like the opportunity to make these a little bit more specific and say, if we're asking for crosswalks and sidewalk, specifically what crosswalk are we asking for? Because otherwise it's just a broad theory that we could hand this to the city and we have no idea what they're gonna do with it. So that's my opinion.
I love all of you, this was our best efforts.
Yeah.
right? So, sorry, I mean, I'm
Do
just
better every year.
being transparent here about how the process went. We came up with these and,
That's right.
and so I agree with you totally. And I appreciate your comment that this is probably a little more advanced planning than we've had in the last couple of years. So I'm gonna challenge us to do a couple of things. I'm gonna move in the direction of getting a decision made here. One is every committee needs to put this on your agenda, on the agenda. 2, strategic planning very well is the rest of definitely talk, create a process. I think Leah, your suggestion is good. I think that we need to actually do some public hearings around this, around getting people more involved in this, because we are trying the best to do that, but I want every voice to be able to be a part of this process for us to actually prioritize things. So I'm gonna challenge us all to do that. So I think we're at a point where we're gonna have to make some decisions. Do we want to move ahead? I guess I have to do some multiple votes, and I'll take some guidance if anybody has any to give me, but we're gonna do some multiple votes here. So these lists are they prioritized the way they are. Would we like to move ahead with saying these are our priorities? If not, the option would be to take F off the table and then vote on what would be the third item on the agenda based on the other 2 that got the same number of votes. As I put 2 choices out there. So do we, let's take a vote. Go ahead.
I can move to remove F from given what we've been told about the realistic nature of that, I can move to remove F from these 3 items.
So what about us taking a vote on, do we want to move ahead with them the way they are?
Yeah. Do that. Yeah.
Agree? So I'm gonna make a motion to let's move ahead with prioritizing and presenting the top 3 items as they are listed here, with the ability to refine a little bit around what resources means. I think that's, I'm just gonna include that in the motion.
Can we also include what specific alleys or what the boundaries are for H? Because
Yes,
It's Central Hilltop. Yeah,
So it's in the middle.
it's the middle of the
Okay,
hilltop.
but I want to be specific. All right.
Well, I mean, I haven't walked it. I mean, so,
yeah, so we can, Joe, I agree with you. I think there is on the north, on the south, on the east, on the west, we can border what we're talking about here, but for purposes of moving this forward, let's do just a voice vote. Who would like to move ahead with the three that are here and leave them with some more specifics? Who would like to, by a voice vote, who would like to move these three forward? Everybody in favor?
yeah,
Everybody that is not in favor?
Nay.
Nay. But we're gonna have to probably hold your hands up. Sorry. Robert would fire me. If you're in favor, hold your hands up.
This is. You counting yourself?
I do not want to count myself. I just said, I'm modeling it. Hold your hand up. I do not, I'm not in favor of moving ahead with the three that are there now.
There's 5 for the 3, correct?
but it's not to, I
It's
thought it was,
5 for the 3 of H and A amended.
yeah, it's the amendment too, right?
Mhm.
And that's what we're voting on?
Oh, correct.
Okay, yeah, it's not. as
Now,
you
let me
said.
be clear. I'm voting, I'm asking for a vote now to move these three ahead and say these are our priorities. If this were to fail and say we're not gonna move ahead, then I have something else to present. That we would say, let's replace F with another item.
I thought, we're moving ahead though, but you're gonna revise A, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm gonna start over. We're gonna move ahead with these three. Revising what the boundaries of Central Hilltop are and describing what refuse resources mean. Would you like to move ahead with these three? I'd like you to hold your hand up if you're in favor of doing that. And then Joe will count those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you do not want to move these forward, raise your hand up now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we are not going to move ahead with these three. So now I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and leave a H here defined by what those boundaries are, define what resources are, and then replace F with either B or F. And if you go back to the previous screen, B is to construct a multi-purpose community facility in Holly Hill, Georgian Heights, or alley and street cameras for high traffic areas. I'm going to propose that we go ahead and replace the third one with B. What was that question? Huh?
No, I thought we were voting for.
Oh, we're gonna, okay, if nobody wants to, yeah, so I'm gonna propose that then it'd be H. Either the way it was the first two, and that the third one becomes B. So everybody in favor of doing that, raise your hand up. Yes.
For the multi-purpose community facility, yada, yada. So there was some article that came out not too long ago that the city was talking about doing that, but further west. Not Hilliard exactly, but further west. So could we put within that we don't necessarily that far west like it?
Or the currently doesn't, that's sponsored all. I think the only one they have is farther on west, on 23, which is by that Kroger. They're asking for like their own rec center or multi-use space, like within the far west area commission. So from a Parks and Recs, like subcommittee standpoint, I respectfully would like to say no to that.
I just thought Zerka was in on that one, so that was all. I thought that she had specifically worked on that city. Gotcha, okay.
No, that My Project USA is doing a separate one from Sullivan, which is not directly associated with the city.
Okay, so we're gonna put up for a vote then to leave the first two priorities the way they were and replace it with B. If you're in favor of doing that, raise your hand.
What are we replacing with D?
F with B.
Oh, F with D.
First two, but amended, the first two, but with.
The first two amended, as we talked about, and then adding this B as being the third ranked priority. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Who's opposed to doing that? And there's an abstention, so 2. So looks like that would be our priorities list. Let's go back and review that. So make sure that we record this effectively and let them do the job of getting the letter.
Print and save
Is
documents.
we will go back.
The
to
library
the next
closing in 15 minutes.
is the first priority is alleys in the hills, Central Hilltop region. Those things will define what those boundaries are. We'll describe what increased refuse resources would be. And I'm going to add that it would be continuing to improve the alleys so that trash can effectively be picked up. That the conversion to 90-gallon cans continue to happen. I know that's happening. I think it's fully funded, but I'm gonna include that there too. You know, the ability to, or if there's the need to buy additional trucks to be able to do the kind of pickup that needs to be picked up, I'm gonna add that in there. Anything else to add?
West of Hague also, if you think about that last community meeting, west of Hague, Bolton.
They will not pick up in the trucks that they purchase. But they throw gas and larger, something stupid like that. They will not fit in the alley. So they have to use the old truck with the retrofitted arm in order to do that. So they'd have to purchase older trucks or the right size truck. But so that's what we're asking them to do is purchase new trucks. Because that's what they're going to come back and tell us. They won't do it because the trucks don't fit.
I mean, we love to do studies. I wouldn't mind it saying, fund a study to pick up refuse from the alley and refill there.
So
You're right, Joe.
They're not,
It's capital budget request.
they're not gonna do it. It's not gonna do it. They've already tried. They've already said that they've done their pilot.
You're right. I am trying to find a way to also demonstrate, because this is right on that group. That's the top thing that they're focused on right now, and so I work with others.
So help me with the words then. So it's just increased refuse removal resources. East and west of Hague. That's what you're asking for us to consider. Yeah.
I don't know how we make it happen.
So I guess my question is, so what's the ultimate goal? It's to eliminate litter, illegal dumping. I think we have to be more specific because it's gonna come from a different pot of money depending on what you're talking about. So if it's increased outreach, that might be a capital improvement thing because it's like, you know, it'd be like a initiative, be a program. It's not necessarily like bringing in, how should I say? Well, I guess technically it'd be both because you'd have to hire people, but I think it's important to be as specific as possible as to what you're asking, especially since they're already bringing in several new initiatives and programs and resources that'll be rolled out this summer. So I just want you guys to be as specific as possible, just so they don't just look at this and be like, what do they want? And then cross it off the list.
We've been yelling at them for years.
That one. That. Many times.
Pick up the damn trash
In the alley,
in the alley.
where it belongs.
Can we put that on there?
I'm saying, at this point, I'm like, just solve the 22-year trash problem. Like how they do it is like on this.
But I think that's the point, is that when it comes down to it, it's picking the trash up in the alley, and there's reasons we can't do that because the alleys will be torn up by continuing to do trash pickup, right? So what's the solution then, right?
The city has picked up trash in the alleys for years and years and years. The city then purchased trucks that don't fit down the alleys.
Right.
And now they want to move the trash pickup to the streets. So the city purchased incorrect trucks. It's not necessarily the trucks are tearing up the alley. They've been doing that for 100 years. Because that's what I mean, it is what it is. So the city purchased bad trucks. That's what it comes down to. They didn't do a procurement.
So we're asking for trucks. We want trucks to pick up trash from our alleys. That's the verbiage. The right truck to pick up trash in our community's alleys, because that's what our community needs.
And we want the alleys to be fortified enough to be able to handle it.
That's right.
I feel like I can draft a sentence that's representative of, invest in the capital resources to be able to continue to pick up the trash in the alleys, whether that involves new equipment or modifications to equipment, and that the alleys be fortified to be able to continue to do trash pickup. Yes.
I just have a quick question then.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Great.
Is it ultimately going to solve the issue?
Of getting the trash done, yes.
Of getting the illegal dumping, people rummaging through trash alleys. Is having trash pickup in the alleys going to solve that problem?
Converting To the 92 is what we're thinking, convert them to 92 and then have them continue to take that, because we're gonna then put a personal in our garage, whatever, right? So the illegal dumping hopefully will be minimized because people are not gonna see these big trash cans, right? So.
I can say to your point about that too, with like based off the conversions that we've gotten over on like north of Broad area, that it's been great. Our trash has in the back alleys has significantly decreased and like illegal dumping and all of that has significantly decreased.
And this was the original, like, reason for doing this. There was a dispatch article in 2018 that said the city was gonna do this specifically in Central Hilltop because it was gonna target the illegal dumping. That's what we're asking for. We just want them to like follow through with what they've been talking about since 2018.
Oh, this argument's even older than that.
Older
It's
than
40 years old.
We have a document.
Okay. We have 9 minutes to get our stuff picked up and out of here. So,
Do you have a before and after pictures?
we have a vote. I have a prioritized list. I will share the letter with everybody here. You know, and make sure that, I think that we take input to my letter, editorial comments, hey, they should, whatever, as long as the scope here is dramatically, agree once everybody letter together. I'll have it to everybody by the end of the day tomorrow. And then if everybody could give me any editorial inputs by next, I think everybody be okay with next Tuesday.
Yeah, make sure you put the deadline in.
Next Tuesday, take a pen, write that down. Next Tuesday, any edits you have to the letter, I'll take them and then we can kind of put them together. I'd like that link shared again, Josh, you know, on our Facebook page or wherever. Give this guy tons of work to do. Share that link on our Facebook page just to make sure there's an opportunity for anybody listening right now. There's an opportunity if you don't appreciate or feel like these are the needs that you wanted to hear, there's an opportunity to use that form to put in your request or the request of your area, your family, whatever you'd like to do.
And what was the deadline again? What was your deadline?
Our deadline for comments is next Tuesday,
Okay.
and that way I can get that to
We
everybody.
know the city's gonna pull that law down. You know.
That's an Avery.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know, don't quote me, but I think it's like through the month of April. Is it that long? You don't know for sure. Okay, they're really pressing us to have this done by the end of April. And so this is the only full commission meeting we're having. So.
And thank you for facilitating this and
Sure.
getting us to act.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm gonna ask one more quick vote. If we have money left over, you know, based on what we're gonna do with our budget, if we have up to $500 left over, could it potentially be allocated to hire somebody to help us with some strategic planning? And it's okay to say no. I'm just gonna say,
Yes, I wouldn't put a dollar amount on it, just say that you would like to contract, just in case the dollar amount changes.
That $20 strategic plan.
okay, then I do want to put a dollar amount on it because I just don't want it to be, I don't think we're gonna have this much money left over, but
If there's enough left over to purchase whatever her services are.
okay, that motion has been made. I'll second it. Who's okay with that?
Yeah.
Hold your hand up. Hold up, we're gonna count it. 1, 2, probably the majority. Perfect. Anybody opposed to that? You abstain? Anybody opposed? One abstention, everybody else is.
Can we see if the city can provide at no cost?
Yeah,
If we provide,
At no cost.
at no cost.
Yeah, this.
So we will be having a high level training on basically how to structure it, but it will not be specific to the hilltop. So if you guys want someone dedicated hours on
Because we have,
how to do it specifically for this community, then you would need to contract.
yeah, so there's different dynamics. I think it does have to be. specific.
thank you for coming to the meeting tonight. I'm gonna actually motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you.